Hello there, a lovely and warm welcome to the first ever love therapy program right on this channel. I'm so excited because on this platform we will explore a number of issues that affect the family, and not only the family, our society as well as the church. It is a program we're calling Love Therapy because we will try and provide insight into a number of issues that are affecting the family. We know a lot that goes on, but it only becomes important that we address these issues on this program. The reason it's coming this late is because we want you as adults to learn from as much as you can from this program and then share that with your little ones in the morning. Of course, selected information. Sometimes we'll get too open. We wouldn't want our children to get involved. But this is Love Therapy, and I'm your host. My name is Bright Sinkozi. I'm so excited because my guest on this program is none other than Dr. Daniel Chuunga. Now, Dr. Daniel Chuunga is a man that we all know, especially when it comes to family-related issues, and maybe that's a reason why he has preached a lot of times on family weeks of prayer. I pray after this program I will be like him. I'm reading one of his book, very little book called Memorable Lovemaking. Wow. That is a book that I recommend to you during this particular period so that it enhances your relationship with your partner. It's very important. Let me take this privilege to welcome my guest, Dr. Daniel Chuunga. Welcome to Love Therapy.
Oh, thank you, Bright. I'm excited to be part of this noble program,
All right.
Love Therapy.
Yes.
A program that is designed to build and strengthen relationships of our families.
Wow.
So I'm really overjoyed to be part of this program.
We're excited to
Thank
have
you.
And thank you for honoring our invitation that you are the principal guest on this particular program. But I know as time allows, we probably could be having a few others that join us on this program. But we're so happy that you can have the time to join us on this program. We know how busy your office is. Let's start from here. Let's know a little bit about Dr. Daniel Chuunga.
Well, Daniel was born several years ago, right in the village of Shibuyunji, Karyerie village. I'm a village, I'm proud to have...
I wish I could say this.
I'm proud to be part of a village life.
Okay.
You know, Bright, there is a way village life builds you up. You are taught to be strong, you are taught to be resilient.
That's right.
Because life may not be that easy. You are taught to wake up early, go look after cattle, do this task, go plowing, and so forth. The life during our time did not include breakfast. Breakfast was a luxury. So, one of your guests who is passionate about family issues. I'm passionate about writing books. I'm also passionate about family development.
Okay.
And of course, I'm a pastor, ordained several years ago to the gospel ministry. And I'm privileged to serve the Lord for 34 years as a gospel minister as of now. Yes.
You've written a number of books. How many in total?
Wow. In all, there are 34 books.
Wow.
That
34
includes...
in ministry, 34 books.
Correct. You have books that deal with homiletics, the art of preaching, books on leadership, books on finances, and books on family relationships.
I want to believe that on family relationships there are more.
Yes, there are more actually.
Okay.
There are more on relationships, I think over 25. Yes.
So you've only done about 9 that are
In other areas,
families,
yes,
okay?
yes.
Well, the reason why we have you on this program is because of that vast passion that you have when it comes to family. Now, I'll tell you this, Doc, that today we have seen a breakdown in our family relationships. Let's start with the issues to do with gender-based violence. We've seen a lot of violence in our homes. Our parents are fighting. And what is actually surprising now is that even the young parents have also followed the trend.
Oh no.
There is one thing that is sickening. It has everything to do with divorce. I read on social media where somebody is going to post a situation and say, my husband this, my wife this. And the next comment that is going to come from the young generation is to say, leave the marriage. Leave that man. He is not meant for you. And the world that we live in has no time to tell people to say, look here, try and resolve your issues. And this is what has prompted this particular program. If we go back to 2 years ago, before COVID was rife in our time, you want to agree with me that there was a publication by the Zambia Daily Mail which indicated about 20,000 had gone to seek their marriages be dissolved by the courts of law. And when you look at that, 20,000 is quite a huge number. But we still see people day in, day out getting into marriages every weekend that passes. So you see from today, the next weekend, you have maybe a couple of weddings. You are privileged to bless marriages. And one can actually ask to say, are you not scared that today you are making marriages, the next minute people are talking about divorce and all that? And the question that we bring in this discussion, which is our topic for today, what really is God's intention for marriage? Because we've seen all these things happening.
Wow. God's intentions for marriage are very noble.
Okay.
Even when there is a record of over 20,000 marriages getting dissolved, you'll be amazed that marriage is still a noble institution that is not yet outdated. They say marriage is like a tower, this huge tower. Those who are inside, they want to come out. And those who are outside, they want to go in. So that is a plus to the marriage institution. Even when players fail, the institution in its totality is a noble one. Now, talking about over 20,000 marriages that were dissolved. You are basically talking about marriages that went through the normal civic processes. There are many other marriages in that year, 2020, that could have been dissolved in a traditional way, in a town or in rural areas. Marriages that did not go through the courts of law, they are there that failed. So you are basically talking about 50-50. Maybe we are talking about 40,000 marriages dissolved in a year. And that is if each family unit has about 5 people. You are talking about 200,000 people affected by this marriage. When this marriage was dissolved.
It's not about
the
because
two.
If we say 20,000, then it means it's 40,000 people.
Something like that.
Have separated. Yeah, so 20,000 are couples. So individually they count to 40,000.
Yeah.
And then we add family members that are affected. So 200,000. That's quite alarming.
That is quite alarming. And you know, when a family is affected, it simply has ripple effects.
That's true.
The two of you divorce, the family is affected, the church is affected, and also the whole country is affected. And that ultimately brings down productivity. How do you produce when you are hating inside? You have lost your wife or children as a result of divorce. Now, God's intentions for marriage are still standing. When we get back to the Genesis, God created the whole world
Right.
and everything in it. And then on the 60th day, according to the biblical narrative, God made Adam. And here was Adam in the Garden of Eden, socializing among animals, walking alone in the garden. And God said, no, this thing is not right. According to Genesis 2, verse 18, the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. God regretted. God saw that it was not good that Adam should be alone. So from this biblical account, we can deduce a point that God intended marriage for companionship. You know, there are fellows out there who don't want to marry out of personal grounds, and some have valid reasons. But those who are adults, they have jobs, they are able to marry, and are not getting married. We can say that, no, it's not good. You are not fulfilling God's intentions for marriage. So, those who are adults and are married, they have a shoulder to lean on in times of challenges. And that is companionship. You don't need to be a maverick to be a lonely person in this life. That's why we have a lot of suicidal cases.
Okay.
Because you have a problem, who do you share with?
No one.
So God's intention for marriage was meant for basically companionship. Another intention that God had in mind, according to Genesis 2 verse 18, I will make him a helper suitable for him. Those are the words of God that was going to make Eve to be the helper to Adam. So marriage is about helping each other. It's not just Eve helping Adam or Adam helping Eve. It should be a kind of reciprocation, a mutual relationship between husband and wife. Another noble intention that God had for marriage was for procreation.
All right.
Adam and Eve, here they are in the Garden of Eden. God gave a command. Be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
Fill the earth, subdue it. So God intended marriage for procreation. God made Adam and Eve. So why should we always stoop down, get soil, make Adam, another one make Stephen, another one make Evelyn? God said, no, I've created you too. And he delegated his powers to male and female to be part of this creation. So God gave authority to Adam to fill the earth. Now, it does not mean when God says be fruitful and multiply, you alone, you want to fill the whole earth.
I thought it was going to lead to there because I mean, if it is within my power to fulfill this command, I would say command or desire, and fill the earth, I can bring on earth as many as 100.
Oh yes, you can bring 100 and it's possible biologically, but it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
Because you need to bring human beings on earth, you are able to look after.
All right.
You are able to provide all necessary things. And that requires hard work.
Okay.
However, we are not saying you have to fill the earth alone. Because during a union between male and female, if God wanted you to fill the earth, he was going to have a lot of ovum in a female so that the male seed should multiply in millions. but only one ovum is fertilized. So, meaning there must be time for each couple. Bring one child on earth, pause, bring another one as you are able to manage those children. So, the command was to fill the earth, populate the earth, and multiply, not to be static. So, when you are married, another obligation you are given is to bring forth offspring,
Right.
to help God in the creation story. Another interesting intention that God had for marriage is that he wanted marriage to be a monogamous relationship. A monogamous, meaning the state of being married to one person.
One person.
Not polygamous. One male, one female. Monogamous. Will come into the area of heterosexual relationship in marriage. But for now, let's talk about God intended that marriage should be a monogamous relationship.
People have argued, Doc, to say, in as much as we are advocating for monogamous marriages, when you read the scripture, you want to appreciate the fact that there are a number of people recorded in God's word, the Bible, who have had not just one wife, but they have had several. Where do we place those people? Do we have to say, well, those were privileged? Because the feeling now of a lot of young people that are following us here, of course married, is that one is not enough. Like the others were in the Bible, let's keep doing it.
Well, it's true. It is recorded in the Bible. Even men of faith like Abraham, who almost took two wives, Sarah and Keturah. This happened. We have Lamech and many other, Solomon, the wise man, so called to say, 700 wives and 300 what? Concubines. How he managed. It's a marvel.
We're yet to ask him in heaven.
Yes, but God in his plan, he created Adam and Eve. If God wanted marriage to be a polygamous relationship, he was going to have Eve and Evelyn, including Adam, so that Adam can have two wives. Or he was going to have Adam and Stephen, and then one woman. But that is not so.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be
One male, one female, meaning.
And they must be single.
And they must be single. These are adult single, one man, one wife. The two share marital responsibilities.
All right, Doc, we should be able to continue, but for now, let's take a break. When we are back, we continue digging deeper into God's intention for marriage. My guest is Dr. Daniel Chuunga, and we continue on love therapy after this. Thank you so much for still staying with us. You are watching Love Therapy, and on this program today we are discussing God's intention for marriage. Just before we went on a break, we did hear Dr. Daniel Chuunga, my guest, talking about marriage being a monogamous arrangement. That's to say, only one person for the other. Now, has he specified Whether it is what kind of a person or not, this is what we are going to explain in the next few minutes that we are discussing this. Doc, welcome back. Before the break, we did look at the issue to do with marriage being a monogamous arrangement, the state of being married to one person, one single partner. You'd love to finish your thoughts on this one as well.
Yes.
The next item.
We alluded to the fact that in the Bible, we have men of God who were polygamous.
That's right.
Like Abraham, Solomon, Lamech, and many more. It is true. They had more than one wife. It is true. It is written in the Bible.
That's right.
But according to the divine intention, God intended marriage to be a monogamous relationship. Even when these things are narrated in the Bible, we call that descriptive account. It is describing what actually happened in the Bible. That some men went for more than 1, 2, 3 wives. That is not prescriptive. What happened in the Bible is descriptive. But also in the Bible, it is not prescribing
This is what you should do.
that this is what you should do.
So because others were in polygamous relations, it doesn't tell that me should also envy.
Correct. Just like in the Bible, we have stories of Rahab who lied.
Right.
That does not mean we should lie
Because
in order to go away with it, in order to achieve certain incentives. The Bible is saying, thou shalt not lie. It's clear. So what happened in the Bible is not everything written in the Bible that is noble, that is good. Some incidences are indicated in the Bible. They are written in the Bible for us to understand what happened. You find the rape case in the Bible. You find a murder in the Bible. But that is describing what actually happened and not prescribing what we ought to do.
In other words, it confirms that the people in the Bible were real human beings.
Correct. Very human. Faulty, frail. They were there, falling and rising up. Just as we do today.
Okay. So we talked about monogamous marriage, regardless of what one intends to do and all that. But then today we have seen that there are marriages that are happening. I'm married to a woman, but there are others that are marrying their fellow men, others that are marrying their fellow women. What is God's intention in this regard?
Well, good question. God's intention in this area of marriage was meant that marriage should be a heterosexual relationship, a state of being married to the opposite sex. God created male and what? Female. He did not create Eve and Evelyn.
That's right.
He did not create Stephen and Stevenson. God created male and female, implying that marriage is only for male adult and female adult, opposite gender. What is happening today in this world where men are marrying fellow men, women are marrying fellow women, is basically a deviation. It's not God intended. Those are human-made evil plans. Otherwise, God's intentions for marriage were to be heterosexual. Furthermore, God intended marriage to be a permanent relationship. It's good to underline that word.
I have to.
Permanent. Till death do us part. Now, according to Matthew 19, verse 6, Jesus speaking to the Pharisees concerning divorce, Jesus simply said, God who joined male and female together, also said, let no one separate what God joins together. So marriage is intended to be a permanent relationship. Not because you have this problem and that problem you divorce. Marriage is supposed to be a lifetime relationship. Till death do part the two. It's for better, for worse.
So we did open, Doc, with
Yes.
A number of divorces and all that.
Yes.
Then you rightly put it that this is a deviation from God's intention for marriage. One probably may just be asking now to say, yes, Doc, we hear that. But does it mean when the situation is not favorable for me in this particular marriage with godly intentions, should I continue staying?
Well, that is another story for another day.
Okay.
But for the sake of our viewers, we can say, even when people divorce, it's within their power to divorce if the environment is not conducive.
Okay.
In fact, the Bible alludes to that fact,
Okay.
that if there are issues that you cannot wrestle with well, if there are issues that can threaten your life, or if one becomes unfaithful to the marriage vow, you break somebody's heart, divorce could be another option. Even when divorce is an option, God's intention for marriage was to make it permanent.
All right.
Is to make it permanent.
It's a lifetime. The
Correct.
lifetime. Okay. So we're still exploring the intentions that God made. So far, we've established that it is meant for companionship. It's meant for one helping one another, and then it also something that excites us, procreation.
Yes.
But of course, if we talk about procreation today, this also has brought about the separation of a marriage, because I want 3 children. My wife only wants 1 because she still wants to slay. She still wants to be a diva, as we call them. and then it creates conflicts.
Oh, yeah.
But then also, we have already established that the intention is that a marriage should be between one man, one woman. That's a monogamous kind of marriage. And then it is supposed to be heterosexual,
Yes.
meaning it's supposed to be male, female.
Yes.
Not male, male, not female, female.
No.
That is not God's intention. And then you did say it's supposed to be a permanent relationship. It has to be a lifetime commitment. That, of course, we have seen a shift into this, but we will explore like you indicated. Any other aspects that you'd love to share with us so far?
I think on a lighter note, one of God's intentions for marriage is to make marriage a pleasurable institution, where male and female should enjoy pleasure.
Okay.
And you know,
Make it simple.
let me make it simple. When God created Adam alone, and then God brought Eve, we see how Adam exploded
An
with
amazement.
joy and amazement. Wow! This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called what? Woman. Now, marriage is meant for pleasure.
Right.
Yes, there is joy in having conjugal rights. Yes, there is pleasure laughing together. Just enjoy life together between male and female. Not to see a female as an object to fulfill your lust. Not to see a man as an object, but as a companion
An
who you
object
can.
to withdraw money from.
Yes, you become the ATM.
Yeah, because today we have seen complaints to say that money is stingy.
Oh, yeah.
They don't give money. And there's actually a comparison on social media where you say facts about stingy men. And people would like, such a man loves too much, sex, let's say it.
Yeah.
But they don't have money, but they always want. So it's like my relationship with my partner should be one that when I give money, then she gives in to
that's about life. But you know, it should be women giving money now to men because men are very few
and women
it's
are
a
more.
competitive scenario out there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those days you propose a woman, she will take 6 months before
To
she gives in.
accept.
But now the competition is stiff.
So they accept before you even finish saying I love you.
Oh yeah, they're just waiting for the manifesto. But all in all, marriage is meant to be a pleasurable environment or situation where you laugh, where you enjoy life, you have companionship.
Would you really suggest some of the things that can be done by a couple to enjoy this aspect?
Oh yes.
You did say on a lighter note, but I think it's not very light. It's something very important.
Yeah, conjugal rights, love making is part of pleasure. Not that you want children.
No.
You just want to make yourself excited because you are a sexual animal. Not only that, go out together, have fun, go to a resort place, stay there, laugh,
I love
share
that.
joys and sorrows. A companion.
We shouldn't be enemies in the home.
Yeah, in fact, when you don't marry a person you love, this aspect of pleasure won't be there. You just marry for the sake of sex. You have sex in 10 minutes and you have 24 hours. What will happen to you with 23 hours, 50 minutes?
You can't talk to each other.
Yeah, you can't talk to each other. You are quiet. That is why for their young people need to marry friends. So that when you marry a friend, you have everything in common. You not just think about bedroom issues. You are going to think about how to share a career. You are going to talk about this and that. Just to make you going. You need to have pleasure in marriage.
Right.
You need to have excitement. It shouldn't be boring. This should be like a journey. You are moving from point A to point B. So marriage is noble. And marriage is meant to be enjoyed.
All right.
Some call it Shipikisha Club.
Yes.
Where you have to endure, you have to be in a furnace. No.
No matter how tough it is.
No. Marriage should be enjoyable. Laugh. Hey, tickle each other. And just enjoy life.
So the wrong choice is what leads to that.
When you have a wrong choice, your house will turn into a major street court. You'll be always doing these sorting issues. Account for this.
I know I could just be jumping the bridge crossing the bridge before the river.
Yeah.
But maybe let me take advantage of this when it's supposed to be like that, bordering on the aspect of making a choice. I know that a number of people that are not married following this program right now are saying, look here, Doc, we need to know how we are supposed to choose. Maybe for the future it's going to be a major topic on its own, but how can one choose correctly if they are to enjoy this aspect of marriage?
We won't even beat about the bush. When you are looking for a life partner, look for someone you love.
Right.
Look for someone you know.
Okay.
Not someone you don't know, you have no background, you don't know his career or her career.
So love at first sight doesn't work.
It's dangerous. It may work for others, but it's not safe. You need to have basic knowledge about your prospective partner. Someone who you can share your career with, compatibility. Same levels, age within the same age group. Not a young lady who is 25 getting married to a 49 years old man. What are you going to talk? The man is thinking about investments, but the young lady wants some pizza, wants some chocolate. Already interests are far apart. So one basic safety against divorce is getting good foundation.
Good foundation.
Marrying someone that you know, you love, someone who can walk with you, even in matters of faith, someone you share the same values with, that will be the best.
All right.
Otherwise, God's intentions for marriage is that marriage should be regarded as a covenant, not as a contract. A contract, you can fail to honor a contract, and there are costs that are attached to breaking a contract. But when you break a covenant, you are breaking the heart of God, and you're also breaking the heart of your partner. Hence, God's intentions for marriage, according to Malachi 2, is to be a permanent relationship, because God hates divorce.
Very, very interesting. So it has to be a covenant that has to stay forever. It's not a contract. But we have seen that there is a deviation, like we have said. There are quite a number of things that I can list for you. For example, Doc, polygamy now, as we have seen it, has led to a deviation in marriage. From what you've already laid down, we can talk about things like cohabiting. I don't want to marry, but I just want to have a child with somebody, and so we are going to live in together without committing to each other. Our parents have not even approved about it. We've seen there are also sex parties that are happening in this society. Just recently, Doc, 3 big women having canon knowledge with an ambassador, so to speak. All these things are happening. There are quite a number of issues that we are talking about. What really do you think has led to all this?
Well, we are living in this world of sin. Before sin, marriage was to be permanent, heterosexual in nature. Marriage was to be a monogamous relationship, and so forth. But today, there are many deviations. You have alluded to polygamy.
Right.
1 man, 7 women. There are also group marriages that 10 couples come together. Husband and wife, husband and wife, husband and wife. They come together and they make a league and say, friends, let's enjoy life. Let us exchange partners anytime we want.
Is that I think we heard in Eastern Province, it's called Chidialana.
Something like that. It's there. It's an odd thing. And also cohabiting.
Who does that?
Who does that? Your wife can go to Mr. Stephen tomorrow. Mr. Stephen goes to Mrs. Mary, and so forth and so forth. That is real shocking. I'm sure even the devil himself is shocked. What is happening under the sun?
But I didn't manufacture this kind
Yes,
of
I think people have gone too far.
They have gone ahead of him.
Yes.
Maybe it's because we are on earth. At least him lived in heaven at the time.
Wow. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have those group marriages, cohabiting. You have sent your son and your daughter to college. To your shock, they are staying, male and female, in one apartment for 4 years, or they finish school, they are working, staying together. Parents are not aware that the two are staying together. Even a child may come. People are together. That is a deviation. That is not God's intentions for marriage. Because marriage is a community affair. Parents ought to know, the community need to know. Homosexuality, which is a talk today, people are even spending their energy. God's intention was to have a marriage that exists between male and female. Anything less is a deviation, is kind of coming from the devil, not from God. And those who are involved in such, we can say they are not doing God's will. It is sin. It is wrong. We cannot justify it from the biblical perspective. And even our cultural norms, don't accept that. But people want to take political mileage in such instances, which is basically wrong. How can a male marry a fellow male? How can a female marry a fellow female? No wonder I read something on social media where Ugandan president said, well, these will only be released when one of them gets pregnant.
which is okay, because you did say that part of the process in marriage is procreation.
Yeah.
So how do you procreate if you are married to your fellow man or married to your fellow woman? It doesn't add up to. And actually one would want to even reach at a point where they're able to say, maybe for a female, they would go and have a child somewhere and then come back, continue with their marriage to their female, but that's really outside what God is intended. Doc, let's take our another break so that when we come, we continue looking at these deviations and see what it's going to do. Love therapy is what you're watching. I bet up to this time you already know what is coming on this program. This is just but the first. There is quite a lot that we will have to share on this program, but for today we are exploring the intentions that God has for marriage. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for still staying with us. This is Love Therapy, and my guest is Dr. Daniel Chuunga. Oh my word, you just have to love this man because he is bringing out issues that are affecting us and affecting our relations. But what is exciting is that he is basing his submission on really what God has to say in his word. Today, we are discussing God's intention for marriage. What was in the mind of God? But along the way, we've seen that there is a deviation. A lot of other foreign things have been included into God's plan, original plan for marriage. And just before we went on a break, Doc was explaining and expounding the relation that exists between man and man, woman and woman, and it is actually a hot topic in the world today. Some of our world leaders are calling for respecting those that naturally, according to them, have an inclination to their fellow men or fellow women. We should respect their rights. Was that God's intention, Doc?
Wow, you have said it right. Inasmuch as there is this deviation where males are marrying fellow males and female getting married fellow females, this we establish is a deviation, it is sin, it is man-made. It's not God's intention from the beginning. And as a result of that, we condemn it in all its terms. However, since this is a sin problem, we need to love those people who are involved. Maybe God's grace can reach out to them to realize the sinfulness of sin and come out. God is willing to accept that. Inasmuch as it is their legitimate right, inasmuch as countries are advocating the rights of gays and so forth, from the biblical perspective and from God's view about marriage, it is sin. It is sin. And we can't support sin in the name of getting donor support and so forth. It is basically wrong. Now, another deviation which you'll be amazed is whereby human beings don't want to go for their fellow human beings. They want to go out for beasts. You find a male having sex with a cow or goat. You find a lady keeping a pet, a dog, and having sex with a dog. This is happening under the sun. Child sexual abuse. Speak of rape, forced sexual intercourse on a male and also on a female. Because even in the Bible, you read about the story of Joseph, how Mrs. Potiphar advanced her emotions on the young man. Even today it's happening. There are some women who are vicious, driven in their jungle of lust. They want to rape men. There is also what we call voyeurism, whereby people want to watch naked people, watch a child bathing, look at naked body, and they find satisfaction in so doing. Pornography, internet sex. Sex toys are common now. You can walk in a shop as a male, buy a female sex toy, and have good time with it. The same with a female. She goes in a shop, look at sizes, get one, and satisfy herself. This is happening under the sun. Now, this is terrible sinfulness where this world has reached. And the devil knows too well, if he can touch the family, then many people will be swayed to his side. So marriage...
Can we say that he's succeeding in this area?
Yes. The fact that homes are breaking down, it's a sign that the devil seems to be winning. And it is up to us today to stand up. We want men and women. We want politicians. We want church leaders, not just to speak about grace. We need men of God, the men in collar, white collar, to stand up and condemn sin in its terms. And call sin by its right what? Name. We cannot pacify what is wrong. Because there is danger, there is judgment to come. And if we comfort people in their iniquity, they will go to hell. And the blood will be upon the ministers, the gospel ministers in every church. We must stand up and condemn this scourge of all deviations that are happening under the sun, including the so-called gayism. It should be condemned. It's not right.
All right. Love therapy is what you are watching. In case you are just joining us, today we are looking at the intention God had for marriage, or simply put, God's intentions for marriage. And we have explored quite a number of good intentions that God has. But on this program, we have not been shy to also give the other side of the story to indicate what has gone wrong. The question that one might be asking now is whether what is happening now gets blessings from God. But I did ask Dr. Chuunga. He said, no, this is a sin problem that we must stand up and condemn. Not only should we condemn, we must try by all means to stay away from it and do things as God intended. The question then, Doc, as we near the end of our discussion is, how can we find a solid ground for this that God intended for it to be upheld until the very end?
Wow. Dear viewers, the only solution to all these deviations is to come back to God.
Come back to God.
We need to go back to the origins. How did God initiate marriage? How did he plan it? How should it exist? Who are its players? Once we get back to the Genesis, then we won't miss the road. We need to get back to the foundations. The Bible, in Psalm number 127 verse 1 says, Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. And the strength of any structure is dependent on its foundations. We need to lay our marriages on the rock, solid rock, who is God himself.
Amen.
When your marriage is anchored on this rock, yes, trials will come, but you know where to go for help. Yes, tears will come down, but you know where to lean your head on. So we need God. And when God is in our relationships, everything shall turn into something good. Remember, dear listeners, there was a wedding at Cana. Jesus was invited. The mother of Jesus was there. And Christ went with his apostles. And while at the wedding of Cana, they enjoyed the celebration until a crisis arose.
Yes.
Wine ran out. And Christ comes on the scene. They put water in jars, and Christ turned water into wine. When the master of ceremony tasted the wine, it was sweeter than ever before, because that wine came from the hand of God. When our marriages are coming from the hand of God, yes, it will be a sweet relationship. And those who are married, when you go through this crisis, running out of wine, running financial crisis, maybe relatives interfering, there is a man of Galilee.
Amen.
Christ can turn water into wine. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. And if you are building without God, you are building in vain.
Doc, you've passionately spoken. I mean, if it was in a church setup, would have said now you can make a call so that people would give their lives to God. But I want to believe that from what has been submitted this far on this program, we can already tell that God meant well for the family. But what we have seen today is a deviation. And there are a number of these issues that we try and explore, but also try and find lasting solutions on how we are going to enjoy our marriages even when there are challenges. I love the scenario of the wedding at Cana. And what actually makes me happy, Doc, is to learn that they ran out of wine even when Jesus was in attendance.
Correct.
That to me means even when we are Christians, problems are bound to happen.
True.
But you took us to Psalm 127, verse 1, unless God builds the house, they labor in vain, those that build the house.
Correct.
So your concluding remarks for tonight?
Well, dear viewers, marriage is what you make it. Sometimes couples go through pain. Like Charles Chaplin said, I like moving in the rain because no one sees my tears. You may be going through some turbulence. Stay on there, hang on there. Invite the man of Galilee. He can turn water into wine. Give God a chance, and you'll do what you can do for yourself.
Amen.
God bless you, dear viewers.
Doc, thank you so much for coming through, and we appreciate COVID is over, so we
Thank
can
you.
shake
Yes,
hands.
yes.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and for the information that has been shared on this program.
Thank you.
All right. We end here for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Love Therapy, remember, is a program that is designed to bring more information that is meant to help us live a life, relationships, everything about our marriages that is going to last forever as God intended it to be. Today we've just learned God's intentions about marriage. Do join us next week at the same time for yet another uplifting discussion on love therapy. And I'm excited to tell you that on this program, there is a little corner that has been created. Just 5 minutes of looking at your situation and an answer given by my guest, who happens to be Dr. Daniel Chuunga. I'm Bright Sinkozi on behalf of Dr. Chuunga and the entire production team. Until next week at the same time, God bless and bye for now.